Good morning and welcome to the Brattleboro Citizens Breakfast. Too much to talk about this morning, so I'll try to make this a very brief intro. Today we're here to hear from a presentation by Andy Robinson and Jan Copeland of the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, specifically about workforce development, and more specifically about the internship program at the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. BDCC has been in the news recently. The executive director of BDCC has been appointed by the governor as the commissioner of the Commerce, the Agency of Commerce. The CEDS process, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategies, came out of BDCC. The 12 major vital projects in that, 3 of them at least implicate workforce development. About 8 or 9 of the other projects listed in that report implicate workforce development issues. Workforce development is a driver in the economy, and a major piece of that is internships. The internship program, collaboration with the colleges. So I'll turn this over to Andy.
I'd like to thank you for inviting Jen and I here today. Bob approached me last week and asked if we would like to come and speak to you folks. The focus, as Bob mentioned, was going to be around the internship program. Jan, I came on board in January and to oversee workforce-related issues. And then Jan came on in February to coordinate the internship program. And that internship program was actually conceived by a group, I believe Jeff Lewis originally began to talk to some of the college presidents and the 6 colleges of this area, that being Marlboro, SIT, Vermont Technical College, CCB, Union, and Landmark. We're always forgetting one. But anyway, the idea was they would form a collaborative, which they did, and in that collaborative, they began to create something to do credit sharing, among other things. So you could go to one college and take a course while you're enrolled in another one. The other part of it involved working with students in terms of how can we get students internships in this area. And it was thought that perhaps the best way to do this would be to have a single coordinator talking to each of the businesses rather than having 6 colleges all individually talking to these businesses. So that's where the idea for an internship coordinator came up. A grant was written, primarily developed through some efforts of the folks at Landmark, and they applied to the Department of Labor for a grant, which they got, and this is what's paying for Jan's work. So there's a lot about the internship program that's limited by the grant as it exists at the moment. The idea would be to get this up and running and then hopefully be able to expand it out, and costs for the program would be picked up over the next couple of years by the 6 colleges. And there's probably a good likelihood that there would be some expansion, but the first thing to do is get the original group up and running. We know from the folks, some of the businesses here are engineering businesses, and there's not many engineering programs that are offered through the 6 colleges, so there's a likelihood we might have to expand out. We may go to a Greenfield Community College. We might go to Keene State, or interface with UVM for some of their ag science folks. All of this is, we're cognizant of it, but we've got to build the foundation, and that's what we're doing at the moment, building this foundation. And so rather than listen to me rant, right, I'm going to turn this over to Jan and let her talk about the actual work she's doing with the individual businesses and the coordinators at each of the 6 schools.
Thank you very much for inviting us. This is a great opportunity to just share with you our enthusiasm about what's happening with this program. I come to this position with experience both in small businesses. I started my own business, as well as several years of teaching at the Community College of Vermont and at Landmark. So what's exciting is to be able to meet with businesses and business owners and let them know that they now have a pool of very talented, capable students from 6 different institutions in Windham County. What I do is I meet with business owners and come to the meeting with all sorts of tools and support to basically take the burden off the business owner in the idea of, are you interested in an intern? Have you made an assessment of your business of whether you need an intern? And then once you've made that decision that yes, you would like to have an intern, what are the tools to get it up and running and to support you while the intern is in your business? So, as I said, the focus is to really take the burden off the business owner and put that burden on me. And then what I do after my meeting with the businesses, and after I gather a strong idea of the culture of the business and its focus and its goals, I ask the business owner or the team of people in the business to create a job description. I have guidelines for how to go about doing that I provide you with. And then in turn, I take the job description and disseminate it amongst the 6 participating institutions. And that is by giving it to what I call my college liaisons, my representatives in the various colleges. They put that information either on their website or out to the instructors, as well as the students. And then I also have the opportunity to post the job description on a very active and busy site for Vermont Businesses for Social Responsibility. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. They have a fantastic website, and we have the privilege now to post our jobs on there, which gets a lot of talented, capable, diligent students, as well as a lot of traffic. So that, in essence, is what I'm doing as a coordinator, is to make sure students are aware of the businesses that exist in Windham County, and that the businesses are aware of the support that they have in the work that I do.
Obviously, students begin emanating from the high school, and so there's a lot of work that is being done at the secondary school, or the secondary school level, even pushing it down to the middle school. And I've been working, and actually Jan and I talked with Paul Cohen, their internship director, on a fairly regular basis, and we try to coordinate efforts. And one of the efforts we're working on is trying to get more business owners involved with the advisory groups to particularly the Career Center Studies units, like the construction trade, the Green Builders Group, in Brattleboro, and they invited the head of the Career Center and the head of the construction unit to come to the meeting and be part of it and see what could be done to interplay in terms of educating the students in the new building trades. And obviously is hoped that there are other types of trade things, but I'm using the building trades as an example right now. So there was interest from the folks in the building trades of serving on the advisory boards, but there was also a cross-pollinization of information that was given about what's going on. Where are the clogs, I guess, in the education process? They had talked about, they being the folks from the high school or the Career Center, had talked about issues of feeling sometimes hamstrung in their curriculum based on the Department of Education's regulations. And so there's at least steps being taken to begin to, how do we adequately address that issue? So there's lots and lots of things going on. It's just that in terms of this internship program, it's focused on the the colleges, it's focused on the 6 school areas, and there is interplay going on between not only the colleges, but the Career Center and the other schools in Windham County. So I don't want to make it sound like we're only focusing on these 6 colleges. It's a much broader picture than what we're talking about right now.
So one of the anecdotal stories I can tell is you as, like Andy said, I've only been in the position since February, but what's exciting is to already see these relationships building between the Windham County businesses and the colleges. There was one business I met with that was interested in development, finding someone an intern that was interested in development work. And so I was able to connect that business with SIT, which is one of the participating institutions, and they had a dialogue, and they weren't aware of what, as close as we are in our little community of Brattleboro, sometimes we don't know what somebody's doing right next to us. So it was really exciting to see these 2 parties come together and talk about what their needs were and how they could work together, which was really the vision of part of the internship program. The other thing that I do is I oversee a group of what we call Southern Vermont Young Professionals. So it is a group of individuals that are living in the area that work for Windham County businesses that are deciding, is this the area that they want to stay in? Are they feeling connected? Do they have community? So on a monthly basis, I organize outings and professional development opportunities so that those individuals who are working for businesses in Windham County ideally choose to stay in Windham County and raise their families here and build a future here because they feel a connection to their community. So that's one other aspect. The dream for me in placing an intern would be to have the intern have a positive experience with a Windham County business and then decide, instead of taking their talents that they're getting from Vermont Tech or SIT or Landmark and moving out of the state and going to Connecticut or wherever, that they decide to stay in our area and contribute to our economy. That's the hope and the dream, and I hope that with the efforts that I'm making and the connections that are being built, that's in turn what happens.
So you mentioned.
Who are you?
I'm Doug Cox, president of the Arts Council of Windham County, among other things. Keene and Greenfield, as other areas that have educational institutions that have a lot going on. Is there anything like this happening in those communities? And if this program were to expand into those communities as well, what might that look like?
Greenfield Community College, and we wanted to come and hear about this effort because about 10% of our students at Greenfield Community College do in fact come from this county and on the edges of it. So we consider Brattleboro an important part of our student body and the connections We do have an internship program at our college, and we've been introducing also a number of one-year certificate programs with the same goal, helping students test their career field, go out and get connected to businesses. So we have all the way from alternative energy to business certificates to healthcare certificate programs as well as degrees. So this partnership would be, I'm just like dancing in the streets back here saying, oh my gosh, we're trying to do the same thing. And in some cases, probably trying to serve the same students and the same people. So if there's a chance of extending or expanding this kind of partnership to us, I'm guessing we have similar processes. I'm guessing we have the two areas that you mentioned, for example, engineering and ag science are two areas where we have very strong programs. And so that would be a place where we might actually, just because of program differences between institutions, we might be able to fill a hole that this particular set doesn't have. And we may have businesses down in Greenfield where these other colleges would have the right interest. So we are very excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Roger Brown, active Toronto citizen. What I'm trying to think about is where is the job growth? In other words, so you place someone in an internship with a particular business, but that business doesn't have much growth, or a lot of the business in Brownsville in this region is small. And I'm wondering, you know, if you have a sense of the job growth, so that those can be the targeted places that you work on the internship. Okay.
Well, I'm not prepared to talk about it much today. There is some work going on with the businesses, some of the businesses in Windham County, and it's Windham County, it's not Brattleboro subject, about doing inventory. We had a jobs, there was one of the principals up at Sonax was sitting in his office one day and he looks out the window onto the shop floor and he says to himself, geez, I've got a workforce that looks like it's getting a little white on top. And so that prompted him to actually build a workbook that he ended up putting this thing together and looked at, you know, the dates of birth of the people, the age, so it looked at the age and the occupation that they had. And he figured out, it's almost like a strategic planning tool to figure out where he was going to be 5 years down the road. How much turnover was he likely to have? And one of the things he also factored into it was the amount of turnover based on his terminated people over the last 5 years. So it sets up a matrix to move forward. And based on that, they can then begin to look at what openings they're going to have. And what we're hoping to do with that information, when it all gets aggregated together, is to highlight those areas, you know, that people are saying they're likely to need jobs in, and then also begin to look at, well, if it's, say, thin film technology for places like Chroma or Omega, we can start addressing that through maybe one of the schools' VTC or some other methodology to collectively begin to build training programs that will support these folks in their endeavors to employ more people or new people, replacement people for the ones that are going on to retire. That's coming down the road. The internship right now was just one of the beginning steps, and that's Career Expo, which we're going to be running again. The theme of the Career Expo was to expose people to what the businesses were in the area, as opposed to them necessarily having jobs. but we wanted people to begin to look at, well, here's what's out here. I think many people didn't know companies like Rove Technology was here and what they did. So not only was it a chance for people to apply and offer their resumes, but it was also for like some of the high school kids to come over and see what do these businesses do. And then going back further, saying, okay, what might we need to get us there in the future as far as education? And that's another piece we're working on too, particularly with the Career Center in the high school. I've been talking with them about the notion, and I know my colleagues at the Department of Labor and even BSAP, this notion of career exploration and trying to help the young folks, even as early as maybe middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th, begin to start, maybe there's all this free software that you can do an interest inventory, and then you can do some career exploration through this wonderful program called ONET that you can look up any career in the job book, if you could imagine. And it will not only tell you what it takes to get into that career, but it will also tell you how much education you need. And one of the really exciting parts is way down at the bottom of the thing. It will also tell you what you're likely to earn, at least initially, and then as you move out of the area, and you can compare it to other occupations you might be interested in, which then at least allows you a more informed process to make your efforts in terms of where you're going to spend your money on your education.
Since I've been in this position, I've had the opportunity to meet with as many as 19 different businesses. And I will let you know that the 19 I've met with are enthusiastic, very open to having college interns, and very open for a dialogue of what are the students' interests, what are the students' aspirations, and how can they partner with them in helping them reach those aspirations. So I just wanted to make sure that I let you know that it's been very enthusiastically received.
Well, there are several areas of inquiry that we're interested in. Number one is that there is not an internship program for, well, there are internship programs for plumbers and electricians, but there are not internship programs or apprentice programs for builders. There's no qualification statewide for building trades. And that's something that's really important for us to get started on, because with the building science that's necessary, with our super insulated and net zero buildings, you just can't, well, we do it all the time, but we really need to have a system where there is, number one, apprentice and internship in these building trades, and then number two, we need to have code and code enforcement, but that's bailiwick. But so that's one of the big things that SEON is focusing on, and I'm actually looking forward to
Working with you too. Clearly, there are opportunities all over the place to try and coordinate this, and I saw a lot. I worked in the business world, worked up at County Lumber for a long time, among other places. I also got caught in downsizing, so I ended up at the Department of Labor for a couple of years. So I'm well aware of what the situation is, both from the employer side of the coin, but also from the challenges of the workforce side of the coin in terms of, and this is why we're trying to push the whole notion of clarity, focus, guidance, and understanding down into at least in middle school, as far as jobs and what we call the soft skills, because I think every one of the employers I've talked to are always challenged about the soft skills, particularly with the younger folks. And it's, you know, I remember growing up as a kid that, you know, there was something in the water or something. It was just like everybody said, you know, it was a certain work ethic that was put forward that seems to not be as profound today as it was then. And so the question for all of us is how do we inculcate that back into the younger workforce with a positive put on it, so that we're not just berating people because they've got issues, but we're trying to assist them in making the transition and into a full-time work position.
I'm Michael Bowser. I don't have a business, but I work with somebody who does, also in the construction field. What are the expectations of the employer? There's a lot of talk out in the press about free internships versus paid. So what are the expectations of the employer?
The grant is written that the internships are paid internships. Andy and I just attended a meeting last week with the Department of Labor and with an attorney for the Department of Labor and the Federal Department of Labor, and it was very educational, very informative. Unpaid gets a little bit tricky when it comes to liability, and we're very aware that not all businesses can pay an intern, but I left that meeting with the idea that when I was meeting with businesses from that point forward, I was really going to advise them against unpaid, primarily because of the liability piece. I mean, it's fantastic for a student to earn college credit, what I'm going to do is encourage businesses, they can pay minimum wage. The fact that a student will be earning minimum wage and getting college credit is very attractive. The other point that they made is you tend to, as a business, attract a stronger group of candidates if there's payment involved.
The biggest issue was the laws, as I was talking to Doug earlier, that the feds have are really, there's no precedent, and yet the person from the Federal Department of Labor was an inspector or investigator. She said she will always, always, always rule on the side, the conservative side of the interpretation of what's going on. So our thought is, my God, if anybody was found in a position where they had somebody come in and look at them, it sounds like to me they were going to run into a big snafu, and wouldn't it be easier just to avoid that and at least pay minimum wage and be done with it? We know of some folks that want to offer more than minimum wage, which is great, but the idea is to have it be a situation where the business also has themselves covered in terms of liability issues, so that they're not stuck out holding the bag, so to speak.
About 80% of the businesses in Putney are small businesses. They're owned, I'm guessing, 1 or 2 people. And I'm wondering how whether there's any sense in somehow in the whole educational mix, sponsoring training on entrepreneurship. That is, it seems that some people get here by creating their own jobs. And so...
We do have a certificate in entrepreneurship, and you're right. What it produces are 1- and 2-person businesses. So it's all the way from hormone and breeding cattle to particular products, and they tend to be 1- and 2-person. There is a competition for students who have a business to pitch, and it provides some startup scholarship money for the ones who are successful in that. So we have an entrepreneurship track with an entrepreneurship certificate and some results of folks who came out of that were able to meet your goal, which is our goal too, that they could stay home. They could stay where they live, they could raise their family, and still have a small business, a good, strong business plan that has allowed them to stay in business, not only to start it, but to stay in business. So we do find that too, that if you can't start them, sometimes they're really hard to start.
I definitely feel like it could work for a 1 or 2 person business. I mean, one of the things that I think is exciting is the talent and the expertise that are coming out of the college classrooms right now. There's several businesses that I've met with that are 1 or 2 people that are looking for social media fluency, somebody who can build a blog or work on a website or just promote the business. And I think there's an openness on the business's part that if that were to become a viable part of the business, that the intern would be hired. And as I said, I go in there with that vision and dream that happens, but the businesses are actually volunteering that. Wow, wouldn't it be great if it got to the point where I could actually take them on to my payroll? I will let you know too, the businesses I've been meeting with, those 19 that I mentioned, are quite a gamut. So I just want to make sure that you're getting a representation, that I'm not just meeting with small 1 or 2 people. I mean, there's some pretty large manufacturing businesses offering full-time, pretty competitive pay. It's very exciting.
Smaller businesses, one of the things that the schools are looking for in an internship is that the intern is being, if you will, mentored. There's a process of checks or check-ins and guidance, so that they're not just, oh, there's an intern, well, I'm going to go do whatever. So, I mean, it's a, taking on an intern, as you know yourself from your experience, is a bandwidth capacity. You've got to be able to offer them something in return for their coming there and studying with you in terms of what they can take back to their school or learning from their
Too, the tools that I created those tools help the business make sure they set up the internship in a way that is structured, there's a work plan, there's all sorts of supports so that it's not, and that's what is exciting about meeting with these businesses. Not one that I've met with has said, I need an intern to do some filing or to clean up this part of my office. I want an intern that's going to have this meaningful experience. I want to share my expertise, my knowledge in this field. So that's very exciting to hear.
So I took a career readiness course this time of year, what was that, 3 years ago at CCV? And was my instructor. Amy got me there. Is that still going on?
CCV had gotten a grant from the Department of Labor to develop those programs. And they were offered all over the state, and they had various degrees of success. I mean, a company like Green Mountain Coffee Roasters was very gung-ho on it, and so you needed to have gone through that program to even apply to their operation. Down here, it was a very different story. There was this is my personal opinion, that the marketing for that program had never really gotten robust enough to really let the employers know what it was all about. What were you going to get out of having somebody who's completed that course and go from there in hiring them. But you have the experience. I think I share a lot of your feelings about it. They have tried to resurrect it here and there, and I'm not sure what their success is. One of the things I do know, there's a group called the WIB, Wyndham Workforce Investment Board, that was sort of one of the projects, and Denise Mason at Bitsubka is actually the one that's coordinating the efforts around that, is taking some of the things we knew from the career readiness program, is how that might get enhanced. And I think one of the keys that I saw, and I talked about it earlier, was the notion of pushing down into the middle school, the notion of where's your interest, you know, in terms of providing interest inventories or other possibilities for searching out information about careers that people could use that would be beneficial to anything they picked up in the Career Readiness Certificate program. So there's definitely more work that needs to be done, and that's a CCB initiative.